This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome for your live safari. The sunrise safari, except the sun is already up, or is it? It's very overcast, slightly dubious looking. I'm not sure what we're in store for today, but so far we're dry, and that's a good thing. The clouds look heavy, but I think they will eventually pass. So my plan today is, of course, to find some animals. First, we will start with the hyena den, but we thought we would just give you some views of the weather that we are looking at. It was a lightning storm last night, but it definitely wasn't as bad as the other day. So everyone, buckle up. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And of course, we'll be coming to you from different locations today, but this location is in fact Djuma Private Game Reserve. And we are just actually listening, hoping to hear of a leopard, but it's not happened just yet. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera, and we've both just been discussing how we have to stop and listen more often. The cars here are very, very noisy, and sometimes it drowns out the sound. And it's worthwhile in the morning just seeing if you can listen, hearing any activity around you. Now, it's 23 degrees Celsius and 74 degrees Fahrenheit. It was actually quite warm and pleasant. It's definitely not unpleasant to be out in, and hopefully it will stay that way. But this is your live safari, so you must talk to us. There's many different ways that you can do that. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use the @FC on the YouTube chat stream. You can also register on the WildEarth website. You head over to the live safari page and submit your questions there. But if you're under 18, you must talk to us. We love your questions, but you send them in via email, and the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So we look forward to hearing from you, and if we can't find any animals, then we definitely need to hear from you. Send in all your funny comments and make us laugh. So I am heading to the hyena den. Our traverse at the moment is very small, everyone. There are leopards around. There's a few in Chitwa. There was one on Buffelshoek. Kara, yes, last night was on Buffelshoek. She was at Jacana Dam. She was called in as Tlalamba. Just a little error. And it was Kara, Shadulu's daughter. So maybe she's feeling the pressure. She's got Nzutini. She's got her mom. She's got lots of females in the west. Tiani, Moya. So maybe she's starting to explore, to look for her own territory. She's young, but at some point they have to make that step to explore. They have to understand the land. They have to understand who's around. Leanne, you're hoping for an active hyena den. Me too. Yesterday was so wonderful. So wonderful. Davi got a bit jealous. He wants to see the cub come out, so we'll try and make that happen. But yes, due to the lightning storm, a lot of our masts are down. So in case you wonder why we're not going to Chitwa and we're not going to Simbambili, the masts need a little bit of work right now. But don't worry, we will get onto it. So today we shall stick to Djuma, and hopefully the hyena den will be active. Sorry, Gwen, one more time with that instruction. So I am going to head on to the hyena den, and hopefully it's active. heard that in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Adorix is very accommodating, unlike his buddies. If you're happy and you know it, where you tell.
You're back with us. Sorry about that. We're almost at the Hyena Den. Now, this path is pretty much turned into a road. I do believe it may be getting named shortly. And it's also a really prominent game path. It's a great place to check for the movement of animals, not just hyenas. You will find fresh leopard tracks, mostly female. It's normally Shudulu or Tlalamba. And you will also find the lions use this path as well. It's very overgrown, as you can see. So we have to just take it a little bit slowly in case there's elephants or buffalo or anything around the corner. Now that's den number 1 that Dobby's about to show you. This sort of overgrown mound is den number 1. This is where Corky, when she was the matriarch and I first arrived to Juma, this was the hyena den. Can you believe it? It's definitely not active and it's not been used since that time. I know people get a little bit confused. Here's a good idea. So this is den number 1, okay? And now we're going to take you to the other dens and you'll see how close they are. So this is the person that you come to, hence why it's called number 1. And then I'm going to show you just around the corner number 2. And we get to number 3 and you'll be able to see exactly how close they are. We just drive along this. We shall. Apparently my signal is great. So I might be able to work that idea.
Good morning and welcome to a wonderful and a very beautiful Tuali Kalahari. The beautiful grasslands are just spectacular early morning like this with those lovely soft colours in the sky. And there's a group of oryx that have just moved off into the distance, but they didn't stay too long. So we at least got the scenery to welcome you guys on board. So very good morning. You're joining myself, Kyle Ansel, and my colleague behind camera is Morgan. It's a wonderful morning and we are exploring the southern parts over here. We are going to look and continue on the tracking exercise, but I think we are going to go and visit the Rockstar Meerkat group this morning as well, just to see how they are doing. We haven't been with them for a few days, so maybe a little update would be nice. Remember that one female is pregnant, the alpha female is pregnant within that group, so we need to keep very close tabs on when she goes down and does not emerge with the rest of the group. So then we are very close to welcoming new babas. I'll give you guys a few minutes of silence just to tap into the wonderful sounds of the Southern Kalahari. Random, it's a very beautiful view. and I'm very happy that you are on board with us to be able to appreciate this very, very beautiful view. Those soft early morning colours are just lovely to look at. It actually looks better on the screen than it does with my eyes. The screen gives this beautiful pink that's been lost obviously with our eyesight. It doesn't pick up as much, but that is just looking so beautiful. So our movements from here, we'll be driving for about 20 minutes in a southwesterly direction. And then there's where we are going to jump off the vehicle and then take you guys to say good morning to the rock stars. I'm going to greet them doing their morning sun salutation. Obviously the first order of business. And then I'd really like to continue with the tracking exercise. So what we'll be doing is we're going through some general and prominent antelope species on Tswalu. And when it comes to antelope and smaller mammals, it can be very tricky. But I didn't mention yesterday, so another very important thing about tracking is knowing the animals in your area. So I know, for example, I'll never find an elephant track because elephants aren't found within this neck of the woods due to humans. So knowing the animal species in your area is also very important knowledge, especially when it comes to small like mongoose species and small antelope like duiker, steenbok. So what we'll be doing is taking a look at the larger species this morning. We did oryx yesterday, maybe we'll do kudu and rowan today. I'll take a look at the fundamental telltale pointers or factors on how we ID them. And then we'll be looking at all other signs left behind. So this will be from if we find a carcass or scratchings, middens, you name it. We would like to influence you folks on everything that is left behind. But on that point, Morgan, do you think we should roll out here? Morgan agrees. Let us start up. Most importantly, early morning, when we start the vehicle, we want to wait for the glow plugs. That's obviously the main... there we go. So while we have got this trusty steed started, let's send you over to someone else to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. What we have here is some swishing tails of some zebras, and they look to be very happy moving around in the clearing, feeding this morning. And look in the distance there. Can you see that weather? I'd love to have seen the clouds that Lauren was looking at this morning, but have a look at that rain. We've seen quite a lot of lightning in the distance, so it's going to be an interesting morning to see what happens. And I mean, it almost looks like there's just a little section of rain that's coming right towards us, and behind it a big storm. So it's going to be quite interesting. For now, we are dry, but kind of headed into an area not far away from where the lions were. But good morning, everybody. I'm Dan Fisher, and on camera this morning we got OD. So what I've done is... There's that lightning I was talking about. Gave me quite a big fright. That was right next to us, in fact. The kind of distance between the lightning and the lightning and the thunder was right next to each other. That's the first one that's been right here this morning, so that's going to be interesting to keep a listen out for. But yeah, as I said, I've come down to this area to where where the lions were last night, kind of hoping that it kind of seemed as if they were moving around this area, looking to see if they could hunt maybe some wildebeest or these zebra that are in the open area. There's also quite a lot of impala. That lioness caught to the young impala yesterday as well. And Yeah, there were some tracks of them where they were last night. I'm going to have to do quite a big loop around to try and see which direction they've gone. But you see these zebra, I mean, moving into the open area, particularly with the weather that's coming, this open area is the safest place for them to be. Lots of green grass at the moment. Look at those tails swishing. I mean, I'm sure there are quite a few insects already going. And look at those ears as well. I mean, I don't think the lightning got their attention. Maybe it just brought more of their attention towards us being here. But I love it how those ears kind of face forward. They try and use as many of their senses as possible. And you see how while 4 of them have got their heads down, one will pop its head up, kind of look around, make sure that nothing is trying to sneak up on it. And I mean, even in this long grass, it gives a lion, particularly a lion, I mean, leopards won't generally go for zebras, but it'll really give the lion a sense or the cover and the advantage that it might need to get close enough to these zebras without them even realizing. And on that note, the rain is starting to come down. I mean, these animals, they're quite similar to humans in the way that if it becomes incredibly uncomfortable, they will try and find shelter. But if it's just a small little rainfall, they'll be very happy to just move around and feed and continue life as normal. But when it starts to rain quite heavily, you'll see, because we were talking about their ears and trying to use all their senses, it'll actually dull their senses, particularly their sense of hearing and sense of smell. When the wind is moving all over, it can be quite disorientating for them. They might be able to pick up a whiff of maybe a lion that might be quite far away, it might be close, and that constant loud noise of the rain hitting trees and grass behind them will also dull their sense of hearing. So they'll be super alert. Even the smallest little move or rustle through the grass will get their attention. I mean, I wonder if they're not going to be moving in to a thicker area now that it is starting to rain and starting to come down a bit. And I wonder, I mean, animals always seem to know better than we do about the weather. It's almost a gut feeling that they have that things are going to get bad, and you'll see them kind of predicting. So for now, I might try and go and find a drier spot to try and look for some lions, but in the meantime I'm going to send you over to Kyle, and hopefully he's a bit drier over there.
Welcome back on board. Welcome back on board this side of the world. So we are moving southwest, nice and slowly. And while we are doing so, we are looking for anything. It's very important that when you're going from point A to point B, watch on the left here, Morgan. It's very important that we keep our senses tapped into everything here. Of course, it's when you'll see something amazing. We had the call of a red-crested corun from our left-hand side here. And let's ask more. Let's just see if we can hear it. Because if it displays, we are in the perfect spot to see this bird rocket itself up into the air. Come on, you want to do it. Beautiful scene of the mountains there where the sun is just starting to creep through that valley. Look how lovely that is. And you can hear the bird activity. This side is a lot more in comparison to what we had a couple of minutes ago. But yes, as you're busy driving, you want to make sure that you keep tabs on almost everything. So you want to be looking for tracks, you want to be using a sense of smell, you want to be keeping an open ear for any alarm calls, any bird calls, in the mix of, while you are moving from point A to point B. Because if you go from point A to point B with blinders on, or blinkers, you're going to miss a lot out here. So, just so that you folks know, just so that everybody's fully aware, if you have any questions or comment, please don't hesitate to talk to us. If you're under 18, pop us an email, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And then everybody, you can just go onto the Wild Earth website, register, and then submit your questions to the Live Safari page. Now, that's the way you can communicate with us. So we're looking almost east into that valley. But we're going to move off slowly, but let's send you over to Kim.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. It's a beautiful morning that we have today, slightly overcast, but we've got the sun sticking its head out, which we certainly didn't have yesterday, and we've been lucky enough to find some whiteback vultures this morning. Now, as you can see, they're just perched right on top of that very tall tree over the crest of this hill, and they've actually got their heads all back. You can see how they're moving those necks right around and managing to preen just in between their back feathers. They are slowly warming up and waking up this morning, and it's still quite cool out, so that's why we can see them on the top of the trees. It's not yet hot enough for them to catch those thermals, for them to go up into the sky, so they're going to have to wait until it gets a little bit later when the sun starts to get a bit hotter. So, my name is Kim, and behind the camera we have Simon, and we're going to be with you this morning. So, the reason these vultures actually caught our attention, you can see there's that mountain in the background, and just below the mountain, to get you an idea of the lay of the land, we've got a really prominent drainage line filled with fever trees, and that's the more common roosting site of these vultures. So that's most often where, towards the end of the day, when it starts getting a bit cooler, they'll go and sit in those trees and rest there for the evening. Now you can see this tree, even though it seems quite big, not the most sheltered tree, it's quite out in the open. It's not a common roosting site that you would see for vultures. They often return to the same sites every evening. And just before we spotted these three, we actually saw another vulture on quite a smallish tree that's flown away. We saw a yellow-billed kite, and we saw a juvenile tawny eagle. All three species of which are very prominent scavengers, which makes me think that possibly they found a carcass at some point, maybe even yesterday, and they've sat here around this area waiting for the predator to move off. We haven't had a chance to really have a good look around, but that's what my theory is. Now, they don't seem too stressed about anything going on, so it could even be that the carcass was finished and they just decided to stay there, because birds don't have very good depth perception at night, and of course vultures, being very heavy birds, they want to actually use all their energy to fly without a thermal, so they might have actually just stayed here resting for the evening. Could be that there's nothing left of whatever they came to look for. Critter freak. Vultures are awesome. There's a lot of animals and birds that get quite a bad rap, and I think it's from all those little shows that you watch as kids. Nothing against them, but they create these sinister beings. Vultures are always seen as these bad luck because they scavenge. It's sort of similar to hyenas being evil, and in fact they are so unbelievably important for the survival of the ecosystem. You can imagine if we just had nothing that breaks down, all the old carcasses and things, how many bacteria and things would be spread around here. So they're unbelievably important. I'm sure some of you have been lucky enough to go on safari have actually seen the remains of a carcass and how much is left over when there's a predator around. Insects and bugs will go in there, but the main animal that sort of really tears away all those last little remains is these vultures. And it's quite unbelievable when you can see, a huge amount of them congregate around a carcass and how quickly they'll actually just demolish it. They take every tiny little bit of flesh that they can. And within, sometimes even a few minutes or an hour, depending on the size of the carcass, you can see a big difference. And it's just, these little birds that are, well, not so little, these birds that are making that difference. If you have a look at the bill, you can see how it's really adapted at getting in there and tearing away at that flesh. They've got those long necks also to reach in to carcasses. What's quite funny is a lot of animals, I'm sure you would have noticed how they often open the carcass from the back legs and they sort of go into the stomach and open the whole body that way. And sometimes you'll even see vultures, once the predators left the carcass, they actually even climb into it. So when you go and find one of these old carcasses, see a whole lot of vultures around, next thing you see this thing coming out. And so they're very interesting to watch. So I think what we'll do is we're going to slowly drive around this area and just see if we might find the remains of a carcass, or hopefully there's a predator around. And we're going to send you to another live location in the meantime.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
This is the first leucistic zebra I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, here comes a lion. Run, little guy. Go on.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me. It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live on the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Yeah, it looks very beautiful. Well, we're just appreciating all things as we drive this morning. And This wild sesame or thunderbolt flower is looking very beautiful, being illuminated by the eastern rising sun. You can see the flowers, you can see the tiny little hairs that are being illuminated by the sun. Just a very beautiful view. And it's when you stop and you look at things like this in a bit of details, when you find smaller things. You have a lot of insects inhabiting these flowers through the cold, chilly periods of the night. Ants and beetles, moths, would all seek refuge on little plants like this. You can see when we get a bit further down there's some spider web. Although silk is not only produced by spiders, you get a few other species of insect that produce silk. It's a very, very remarkable material that is used for various things. Obviously the most prominent is via spiders. There's some silk there. Look at that. Lovely. Who are you? So looking at this lovely, lovely plant, it's a very prominent plant. We looked at it a few days ago, and its appearance is unmistakable. There's nothing really that would resemble this growth form out here. There was a question there, is there any medicinal uses for this species, thunderbolt? So there is one or two medical uses, and one or two, let's say, natural uses, or more. Sorry, I'm just trying to pick up on a bird here, folks. This is a bird is calling out the right side. It's shouting out about something. Another bird. It's a lesser grey shrike in the distance. I suppose he's shouting out about another one. But always very important. That could be an indication for a small carnivore like an African wildcat, or maybe even a snake early morning. But always very important that you make sure. So this plant is used as an aphrodisiac. I'm not too sure in what parts would be used, to be totally honest with you. I'm sure it'd be part of the roots, or maybe part of even the seeds that would be used in this medical, or let's say, yeah. So yeah, I use it as aphrodisiac, and I just can't think of other medical uses or properties right now, to be totally honest with everybody. And it's a very beautiful flower when in flower. Let us rock and roll to those meerkats, because we are going to be a little bit late for them and we don't want to miss them. So we'll get back onto that plant. Let's go see where those little guys are, because it is starting to warm up, and they would be sunbathing right now, and I don't want to miss them this morning. Lovely, starting to warm up. Everything just looking very beautiful in the sun. And I found a road and we're going to turn south. That means the sun will be on our left-hand shoulder. Keeping orientation check. When you're a new guide and you start in the area, making sure you have orientation down is obviously very important. So when you do get lost, well, not lost, temporarily disorientated, especially with guests on board. It is a bit of a nerve-wracking thing, but the most important thing is you don't laugh. Just be totally honest, explain to people, and you try and get out of it together. Here's some oryx. That is in the road. Lovely. Looks like on a little stroll this morning up to the dune. A little bit of morning traffic for us. Not that we have a lot of it this side. Fairly low morning traffic. It is Friday, so they will be making their way out for the weekend. Oh, there's a baby. Whoa! Wow, yo, that is a fairly young individual. From the color of its coat, look at that. So this mom would be very protective at this point in time. So you don't want to go anywhere near that young calf. Because that auntie, that lady, will definitely show you her tough side. Let's say it that. They will not hesitate to put horns down. See the one in the distance there also looks like a female by the structure of the horns. Maybe not. Sorry folks, I'm just having a lot of terrible comms issues at the moment. There was a question about the thunderbolt flower back there. So, yeah, one thing I can remember is using the aphrodisiac, and I'm going to have to look back in my manual and see what parts of it would be used. And it's also used as a traditional remedy for snake bites, but I don't think that will be very true, because if you're bitten by a snake, the only thing you're going to be using is an anti-venom. Very importantly. I can remember that you can make a rich oil out of the seeds once it's seeding. And then besides that, I really can't think of any other medical uses for that lovely plant. Maybe that's a point of homework for me this afternoon. I can't hear what's going on.
So welcome back. We had a quick look around. We couldn't see any sign of a carcass. There was very long grass though, and there was reports of cheetah in the area yesterday, so I think what might have happened is that they managed to take something down and they abandoned the carcass at night. Some of the vultures probably fed, and we just couldn't see it, the remains of it in that long grass. That's my theory anyways. But it seems to be a birding morning. And you can see we found another beautiful bird of prey that is sitting right on top of this old fever tree right in front of us. Now, if you have a look, the most prominent feature is that stunning crest right on top. Other than that, it's quite a dark bird, a dark brown in color. You can see that tail at the back is quite long and rectangular, but that crest at the moment is the most distinguishing feature. So this is a Wahlberg's eagle, and what it is doing, you can see it's busy looking around. So it's actually just having a look for any sort of potential prey that it might decide on trying to catch this morning. Now, a European roller just flew into the tree next to it. Quite a brave move, because the Wahlberg's eagle predominantly feeds on other birds. Thanks, Safari Kitty. It is a beautiful bird. In fact, it's really great to see them, because they are intra-African migrants. So they're not here the whole year round, really from August to April. So we've got to appreciate them while they are. They'll most likely winter, in the northern parts of Africa. So it's just having a good scan around. They've got unbelievable eyesight, as with most birds of prey, all birds of prey actually. Just having a look for anything that it might be able to catch. There's actually another one further down in the tree, but it's just blocked from our view. So this is a breeding pair. They're monogamous birds. And a really nice little strategy for telling if birds are monogamous. If the male and female look the same, or very similar in coloration, most likely they're monogamous. If the male is very, very different to the female, as in the case with the widers and the bishops, then they are not monogamous. Oh, look, it's regurgitating something. Watch that. Look at that. Oh, something just fell out of its mouth. Wow. That is amazing. That is the second time I've seen that happen in 2 days. And it is just the funniest thing, because it's really not something you see very often. So I think it's just something that wasn't digesting very well. I didn't get a good look at what actually fell out. It could even be, the shell of a dung beetle or something, because they feed on predominantly birds, but also insects, some small mammals, and then frogs and things as well. So I think whatever it wasn't digesting properly, and there's quite a few dung beetles around still at the moment. It could be something like the hard shell of that. It's just not going down well. Imagine that was quite uncomfortable for it. Really beautiful. It is such arid flowers. I don't know if we can pan to our left there, Simon, into that that little patch of water down there. I don't know if we've got an angle on that, but that is quite another beautiful thing to have a look at. Firstly, I just want to point out, as we're panning, how stunning is this area. So this, what you're looking at now, is actually a dried up watering hole. So this whole thing should be filled with water, but it has been dry for pretty much a year. And you can see after our big rains, we've got a small little patch of water. Now, I think the reason it didn't fill up so much is that the soil in the area is so dry. It's got a large catchment area to go in here, but I think the soil was so dry around it, and it's not steep slopes coming in here, so I think the soil probably just soaked up most of the water, and until it's very saturated, we're not going to get too much water coming in here. Eliane, thank you so much for your question. The number of species I don't know offhand, but I'll list some of the ones we see a bit more often. We get the Wahlberg's eagle, the tawny eagle, we get a variety of snake eagles, which is the southern banded snake eagle, a very special bird for this area. There's only about 100 left in South Africa, so great one to come and see here. The the black-chested snake eagle, brown snake eagle, I don't know if I've mentioned martial eagle, crowned eagle. Then there's we sometimes get the lesser spotted eagle as well. And there's been sightings of the steppe eagle, but neither of those are too common around here. I'm just trying to think of some of the other ones. Those are the ones that are coming off the top of my head, and then we get a variety of falcons, kestrels, kites. So a huge variety. The way to spot a true eagle is because they have feathers going all the way down to the bottom of their feet. The buzzards and things won't get that, and neither will the snake eagles. So what we're looking at now in this watering hole, you can see that there's a marabou stork walking on the side. And it's quite lovely. We've started seeing them come back quite recently. And we don't see them all the time here. It's one of the birds they're either here or they're not. You can see it's got quite an interesting sort of design to it. It's unfortunately named one of the animals part of the ugly five, which is a term I'm not a big fan of. I don't believe any animals are ugly. Especially because they put, I think, warthogs in there, and I think warthogs are so cute. But yeah, this one is also just busy trying to feed. You can see it's walking quite slowly and checking for little frogs or insects around there. Matthew, the marabou stalks, this is a fully grown marabou stalk. So pretty much what you're seeing here, in terms of its actual size, you get to about 1.5 meters. And like just over 6 kilograms. So they're quite big birds. You know, and you can imagine, look at that huge bill that it's got. So that's gonna bring in a lot of weight, and then it's got quite a large stomach area as well. So it's busy looking for little things like fish and frogs, little insects. But they can actually also even catch things as big as like small crocodiles. Obviously that's not what it's looking for now. We've been really lucky to have a lot of small crocodiles. Funny enough, this time of year, actually I had, I think, 3 crocodiles on the reserve. Have little nests that have hatched. Oh, it's actually just caught something there. I always find it amazing when you watch birds with these very long legs, how carefully they walk around. Amazing, it sort of stopped and looked around and listened there and caused it to fly off. Perhaps it was just also because it had reached the edge of the water, you know, it's sort of been panning along the sides and walked up that little bit of water there. Yeah, it's flown off to one of our pumped watering systems on the other side. You can see that it's joined some Egyptian geese there. I think it's decided it ran out of options to feed, you know, probably picked out most little insects and obvious frogs. And they were all now a little bit more weary, knowing that it was busy trying to catch any kind of food it could from there. So it's moved on to a more promising feeding ground. Ooh, Hammond. My favorite bird of prey, that's a really good question. Now, until very recently, I would say it was probably the crowned eagle. It might still be the crowned eagle. I think it might be a tie. So the crowned eagle is massive, and I just find it the most amazing bird of prey because it actually takes down things like monkeys, small antelope. So really a stunning bird, and just the actual colorations of it. I'm sure I can get a picture for you in my book. Just give me a little bit of time to quickly find it. Now, so the crowned eagle is, sure, it's definitely right up there for me. But then I also had the most beautiful view of a southern banded snake eagle the other day. And, you know, because they're such rare birds to see, that kind of put that bird of prey right back up in my top favorites. So I think it's probably between those two. So here you can see the crowned eagle. You know, to give you an idea of the size, we've just had a look at that marabou stalk. Sorry, Simon. And the crowned eagle is about half the size of that. You know, not in terms of actual height. It's about 85 centimeters in height. but in weight is 3.6 kilograms. So, you know, quite a big bird of prey. And you can see that it's got that beautiful crest with a crown that raises up. It's got that very sharp hooked bill. And then it's got that lovely banding across the front and the tail. And if you have a look at the picture of those talons, you know, that's exactly how it will kill its prey. So it will fly from a very high sort of height, and then it pulls in those talons, and it actually often goes for the junction between the spinal column and the skull, and it tries to sever that cord, and that's how it will actually kill its prey. And you can see the immature birds, or the juveniles, are also just as beautiful and as prominent. And even when it flies, very distinguishing, you know, features. There's that beautiful rufous there, but then you've got that black bands going along the side, and then that banding on the tail, and also just the size of it. You know, you really won't confuse it with many other birds based on the size. The second you see something that big, you know it's probably a martial eagle or crowned eagle. And Verreaux's eagles are also about the same size, but we don't get them around here. So that's the crowned eagle. I want to show you the snake eagle the southern banded snake eagle that I was talking about. 142. So here you can see the southern banded snake eagle. Absolutely stunning bird. Now they've got that very yellow eye, that beautiful grey colouring, and those lovely yellow feet. And you can see here, look at that distribution. You know, we get that little distribution in South Africa, and then a little bit into Mozambique. You can see less than 50 pairs in South Africa, so less than 100 birds. Alright, so we're going to carry on through these beautiful open plains and see what else we can find. See if maybe we can find some rhino and get lucky with a predator of some sort this morning.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions. Join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
I'm Nikki here at Ambient Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Nikki, your guide here at Ambient Ngala. So my favorite animal in the African bush definitely has to be the zebra, because like people, with our fingerprints, every single zebra has a different stripe pattern. And, of course, a group of zebras together is called the dazzle. How unique is that? Come and join me or one of my colleagues here in Ngala for a sunrise and sunset safari on Wild Earth.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice on myself then.
big bird, marabou stork. Welcome back. So we decided to quickly go around to the other edge of that big, dried up watering hole and come to this area where the marabou stork has landed, just to see what he's up to and see what other birds we can find. I think it's going to be a bit of a birding morning for us, by the sounds of it. It's actually fantastic to see so many different birds. I had some guests recently who really were interested in birds, and we went out looking, and it was before we had the big rains. It was quite interesting to see how birding had suddenly become quite difficult. You would often go look for mixed foraging parties, and you often get a few species just in one tree, and especially around watering holes, you get a huge variety. And most of our common ones weren't around at the time. So it's beautiful to see how many birds have come back just from the rains. We've got a better view of this marabou stork now. Maybe we can see a bit why it's considered one of the ugly five shape. Now that I'm looking at it, I do kind of understand that nickname. It's got those unfortunate stains on the top of the head. It's very, very pink and bare sort of head and neck, with a little bit of fluff around it. And we've got that white belly and those black wings. It's quite interesting. I can't see the air sac on this one. Just having a look. They often have this very, prominent yeah, I agree with you. They are underrated, and they are a magnificent bird. And they're just like those vultures. They actually scavenge us, also are very important. Let's look at these Egyptian geese. They're doing this beautiful display together. And they've just stopped. So that would be a mating pair. Egyptian geese can actually be quite territorial. So what they'll do is they'll display together like that quite often and secure those bonds. And also, mating pair will often scare other Egyptian geese away from the same sort of watering hole or body of water. And they can be incredibly vicious. I mean, I've seen Egyptian geese properly fighting to the point where it actually seems quite dangerous. It looks like they're going to do quite a bit of damage to each other. So funny, these geese don't get their name from Egypt or anything like that. They get their name from Cleopatra, because you can have a look at that beautiful color around the eyes. Cleopatra used to wear a lot of dark eyeliner, so that's what I've heard that they've gotten their names from. And they're very common birds. I'm sure around the suburbs you see them a lot, but if you actually take the time to look at their features, they are really quite beautiful. And it starts going again. That one on the right is the male, a little bit bigger. And one on the left is the female. There he goes again. We were having a discussion the other day about birding. And we were saying, the benefit of when you get into birds is that there's always something to look at. Even if it's tough to find animals at the time, you always got birds to appreciate. And then we went on further and said, the birds are also always doing something. You can sit and watch them, and it can be quite interesting. And I think this is a great example of that. Just look at that. And Egyptian geese carrying on. Oh, it doesn't seem that this watering hole is being too productive. So we're going to head off and see what else we can find. Luckily, Kyle has found some animals that are busy on the move for you to go and have a look at. So we're going to send you over to him now.
Yes, we've got a beautiful herd of oryx. A different group in comparison to what we saw earlier. It's quite a nice sized group, busy moving through these grassy plains. This is one of my favorite antelope to look at out here. Very complex, very well adapted to these areas, and very beautiful in appearance. They might have come from water. We're not too far from the watering hole. They might have come from water and just moving out into the plains for some nourishment. Bridget, those very straight spear-like horns are lovely to look at. Also very formidable weapons when it comes to defending oneself and also protecting young, as we saw that little calf previously. That mom will not hesitate to put those horns on, and those horns are very strong. She is very powerful, and as well as they are deadly accurate with those horns. So you would think that the position of them, that they would not be able to put the horns down straight. They are able to do so. So tilting the head forward and then allowing the horns to almost reach a horizontal position to a target or a threat. And then using all her might, she will drive those horns. Whew, they're very dangerous animals with those weapons on top of the head. Obviously, being out here in the open, you need a very efficient set of weapons. If you didn't have those formidable weapons, you're going to be caught out here quite a lot. And they are in the distance right now. But let's leave them be. They're moving off quite far. And let's move on this way. So what we'll be doing over here is we are coming near a junction. And then at the junction, we're going to turn west. So the sun will be behind us as we make our last one or two turns to get to the rock stars. I can just feel my hard drive trying to go through all the stuff that I've read or have heard about the thunderbolt flower, wild sesame. I just cannot think of another. Tyler, how are the wild dogs doing? The wild dogs are doing fantastic. They have been roaming around the full expanse of Tswalu. They've been hanging very far in the south for the past couple of days. I think 2 guides actually went out there yesterday. I don't know if they were successful. There was a little bit of cloud cover, so they might have moved a bit earlier yesterday afternoon. It's always important that you take weather into consideration. That is a very important factor that will determine where animals will be and also the activity of them too. Oh, yes it is. Love the elegant grasshopper. We've been seeing a lot of them around at the moment. And I heard the other day that Lauren was also viewing this lovely locust with you folks. The beautiful, elegant grasshopper, sorry. Still a bit chilly. So it still needs to warm up a bit more for this insect to become active. And so holding on tight onto that little stick there is very important early morning. And you don't want to make a lot of movements now, because if something sees you, something could potentially eat you. But you do have those lovely colors to ward off a potential threat. Tommy, why is it called an elegant grasshopper? Ooh la la. Tommy, that's a very good question. Maybe from its very beautiful colors. It is elegant in appearance or beautiful in appearance. Tommy, that's a great question. I would have to say, just thinking practically, I would have to say from its very pretty colors, Tommy. The nice colors that this insect displays, it looks very elegant. I think. But I have not read any literature to why it has the name elegant grasshopper. So Tommy, age 5, well done. We're going to have to look up and make sure on my behalf, just to be 100% sure. But they do have very, very beautiful colors. And those colors are very, very important for this insect. And there's a lot of... Oh, there's another one. You see at the bottom there, Morgan? There's another one at the bottom over here. Lovely. You can see that one's a little bit more prominent in color. It might be an individual that is younger, having those beautiful bright colors. You can see the little red markings there. Those are the very reduced wings. Obviously, with this group, a large majority of them are able to fly. Grasshoppers and locusts and crickets. Some of them short bursts of flight, especially your very large species. But then some of them are able to cover a very, very great distance. And you can see those wings there aren't really utilized for far travel, let's say it that. They're also not really great jumpers. They've got a very, very poor jumping ability. There was a question there about difference between a grasshopper and a locust, I think. So, was that it? So, grasshopper would, by my understanding, would be a little bit smaller. Grasshopper is a smaller individual, and then a locust would be a larger individual. Locusts are also termed when they swarm, so when lots of little hoppers get together, especially when there's a reduction in food, their density becomes quite high, and they tried for many years to understand what stimulates swarming behavior. Would it be climatic conditions? Would it be food? Would it be a signal that individuals are giving off? And they found this out in a laboratory by stimulating or touching the sides of a young individual's leg. So if you think about when all these little individuals are roaming around busy feeding, they have enough space. But when food starts to become restricted, their proximity to one another becomes reduced. And so then you would find individuals touching each other quite a lot. And that stimulates a certain hormone that then makes the insect change in form to become a swarming individual. So locusts typically is a typical terminology used for swarming individuals, but I also like to refer them to as bigger grasshoppers. Grasshoppers for me are smaller individuals, smaller in size than this beautiful, elegant grasshopper. So they call this a grasshopper. It's still fairly small. If you look at this grasshopper, it's only between 20 and 50 millimeters, so between 2 and 5 centimeters. Then if we go to one of my favorite locusts, if you ever have the chance of seeing it, don't be freaked out. Its beautiful cryptic coloration is a remarkable adaptation. So if we look at the rain locust, that is a fairly large individual, and that would be about between 5 and 9 centimeters. So there's a very different size difference there as well. And then locusts have very, very, very strong, very well developed hind legs. In comparison to this over here, you can see that leg isn't very, very strong to support, remarkable jumping behavior. And that's a very, very cool trick to have. You know, if something's about to grab you, that you can, off the bat, be off that point and hopefully evade a hungry tummy. Lovely sounds around us, and it's definitely starting to warm up. So this Megan, do they emit sounds from their mouth when you grab it? So if you look at these lovely insects, sounds are produced from rubbing of body parts and not by the mouth. So, for example, if I had to pick up a corn cricket, you would have heard in the background there this very sharp creaking sound that is made by the armored ground catted. So sorry about that. So like I was saying, that shield towards the stripy bit, that middle section is referred to as the thorax, and then that stripy bit at the end, at the bottom of screen, that is the abdomen. So if you look at sound and how grasshoppers and locusts produce them, it's via body parts. And this can be via redundant wings. So if you look at the armored ground catted that we've been looking at for a little while, they have got little membranes under a cover plate that fluctuate and then make a certain sound. Some insects do it via rubbing their legs against various body parts, but a very, very distinctive and very important tool to find each other, but also to ward off predators as well. Lovely, beautiful insect to look at. They can also be really nice when it comes to photography. If you're into photography, I mean, look how beautiful that scene is right now. Getting the right light or the right angle, it is a fantastic insect to photograph. And I find myself getting lost at photographing an elegant grasshopper. All that I've seen it so many times. It is just so beautiful in appearance. Dlomo, are these territorial? Good morning, Dlomo. No, these individuals don't display any behavior or territorial behavior. Territorial behavior is a very distinctive visual pattern of an animal, going around, marking, warding off or chasing other individuals. So these guys, no, they would not be territorial. There's abundance of food out here. They might be aggressive against a competitor for food, for resources, or for mating rights, but territorial, not these guys. But great thought process. Very, very nice to think that, is this insect territorial? And if you think it broad spectrum of insects, I don't think a lot of them are actually territorial, if at all. They might have a small patch that they defend. It might be a territorial display, but by my knowledge, I'm really not sure if insects actually display territorial behavior, and which insects do that as well. So we are going to be, just going up a little bit further. But let's send you over to Kim shortly, and then we'll see you at the meerkats.
Come back. A little bit of a birding morning. We have found in terms of the rollers, very distinguished, very blue front that sort of front blue front of the body, brown on the back of the so especially with flying anyway. See what the roller actually flew to grab something, which is exactly how you can see if something comes predominantly in some audio issues while we try and sort that.
Alright, so welcome back. We've just got to go a little bit further. So another thing about a locust, if I'm not mistaken, it displays two forms of behavior, solitary and then obviously gregarious. I think that is also another defining feature, although they are technically the same thing. So the difference between a locust and a grasshopper is kind of in the air. There's a grey area about it. If anybody has any other solid information, let me know. We are all learning through this process every single day. I am learning out here. And the beautiful thing about being a guide is that I will never, ever, ever know and understand everything. And it is really true in this profession and as well as so many others. The more you know, the less you actually know. And it is very true within this. Nature is just so complex and so varied across the board. It is beautiful. So you can see we've turned west now. The sun is directly behind us and we are scaling over one or two dunes, and we are going to be looking for the beautiful little rock star meerkat group. Something just caught my eye here. Ah, it's little ants. You take a look over here, Morgan. Look on the stem over here, there's... Oh, there he's just moved. So, oops, my head is in the way. There was a lovely... There's 2 or 3 little dark ants on the thorn there. As I drove past, it just caught my eye. And yeah, looking at trees and structures like this, it's always very important that you stop and really take your time, because there is so many little things that can be hiding in and amongst this thorny or spiny vegetation. These trees are very remarkable, and if you think about these lovely projections, these are obviously used as a form of defense, and a very, very efficient form of defense at that. This will deter a herbivore very, very quickly. So if you look at this, this is a structure, this is a modified part of the plant, and if you think about it, it is something that can be utilized. So these trees, most of them, have a very special relationship with ants, and ants would actually, look at that there, that little hole right there. Let me get my marker. So this structure would actually be used by ants. This is where you'd host a few ants, and I mean these ants are minute. Within the southern Kalahari, I think there's about 3 different species, or 4 different species, that would utilize this lovely tree. And this is the perfect spot to host a little form of protection. So you would find little slender ants that would utilize this for residing purposes, but also putting their larvae inside there. It's a great form of protection. So the tree hosts these beautiful and very, very aggressive insects, and then in turn these insects protect the tree. So if you get a giraffe that comes here and starts nibbling off these very nutritious leaves, the movement and the disturbance will stimulate these ants to come out, and they would run along these branches to where the threat is, and they would actually start biting the browsing animal along or around the lips to deter it. So in conjunction with having a chemical form within these lovely leaves, they also have a lovely symbiotic partner that will help them out, because the tree is providing all that these ants need, from nourishment, protection. Oh, look here, Morgan, look here. Look at that. What is that? What is that? Those are eggs. Oh la la. Can you put it to the right a little bit for me? There we go. Oh, those are eggs of some kind. Let me take a closer look. And you see what I mean? You stop and you look. And as soon as you look, great, Joy. Those are 2 very important things, and things that one has to utilize. And it is very stimulating on a continual basis. So I really don't know what insect would have deposited those, but those are definitely eggs that have been deposited in a very uniform manner. And to come here and to browse off the tree, you're going to get attacked by ants. So it's also a very suitable spot to put one's protege. So just by looking, I can't really see. Sure. They're shiny, they're very tiny. Very small. On a row, there must be 9 in a row, roughly. Sure. But it's like that now. Now I'd have to go back and page through, very slowly page through the insect book and try and find out who that might be.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of Wild Earth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the Wild Earth Camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
There is clearly something in the vicinity around you that's drawn their attention. Yes, that meerkat in the tree is just the coolest of cool meerkats. But watch how he battles when he comes down. That would be like me climbing a tree, just better.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Oh la la, look what we have just found. You see what I mean? When you stop and appreciate, stop and look, everything just seems to unfold in front of you. And it's such a treat. Up and down. Obviously that remarkable ability of producing silk, and silk used for different, there's another one, for different things. Sure, look at that. It's got a little prey item in the middle of its web. Very nice to see that. So where the radial lines will meet the hub, the central part of this amazing structure. So if you look at these spiders, especially this one over here, this is a web-making spider, and they make these webs in a arboreal, or off-the-ground format. So you get spiders in South Africa that make webs like this over here, and then you have spiders that utilize silk and make some form of web on the ground. The ground-dwelling individuals will be referred to as mygalomorphs, and these arboreal individuals are arenomorphs. And to produce silk is quite a remarkable ability. And if you look at where the silk is being produced, is from the abdomen, the very far end of the abdomen. They've got a special organ called spinnerets. And these spinnerets are broken up into different little segments. Depending on what the spider needs, these segments within this organ can produce a different type of silk. So if you need to wrap food, you want a flattened a silk structure. If you want to create a web, you need a rope-like sticky structure, just like it is being produced over here. It's a really remarkable ability. And if you think about that organ, one thing that's fascinated me for a long time is to think about how much silk a spider can produce continuously. And if I ask you folks, without Googling, just off your head, how much silk do you think a spider can produce continuously? Let's get a number there. Do you think it's 10 meters? Do you think it's 50 meters? Let me know. How much silk do you think a spider can produce continuously? It's remarkable. But using this remarkable property, and it's just high in proteins, that's all it is, and it's a remarkable structure. So I'm creating a web such as this here to catch flying insects. Actually, trying to see who this might be. A lovely coloration, almost a white appearance, and it's got that beautiful little black dot. On the dorsal side of the abdomen, got grey legs with black bands. And spiders are fascinating creatures. It's amazing. All right, we got a Infinite Center says 100 meters. There's one answer. All right, so Infinite says 100 meters. That's a fairly good stab at it there, or a fairly good catch on it. So producing silk, they would have, I've seen the footage of it, they would have taken, obviously not harming the spider, they would have taken the spider. Ellen says 22 meters. They would have taken a spider, they would have sedated it, they would have put it upside down, and they would have used pins to hold the spider in place. And then they would have taken the little tweezers, and they would have basically started the thread process from the spider. And then over a base, they would have actually wound the thread onto like a turn wheel, for example. All right, so we got 100 meters and we got 20 meters. All right. So when they did this study, or did this process to find out how much silk a spider could produce continuously, they were absolutely blown away. One spider continuously can produce, it also depends on the species, so smaller species might make a little bit less, but I think this species was a Nephila. And if you look at Nephila, you guys were looking at one of the species within that family group a couple of days ago. I think it was with Lauren, that beautiful golden orb spider. So the orbs make very, very strong, sturdy webs. And they used one individual, continuous strand of 750 meters. That is remarkable. And that's continuous, to think about how the body can produce this material on a continual basis like that. And if you look at spiders, that is obviously a defining characteristic of them. If you look at spiders, they do have this organ, the spinnerets. Some resembling individuals that aren't true spiders, you get a thing called a solifuge. They do not have the spinnerets within the abdomen. But while we... Oh, Morgan, just want to go in here quickly look at that. Wow. This is a form of a true bug, Hemiptera. So we were looking at the true bugs yesterday, and this is definitely another member of that very diverse group of organisms. Let's try and turn it around. Tell me when you can get a nice side view of it. Oh, and there it's gone. Okay, well, on that note, let's send you off to Lauren for a bit.
Oh, sorry, everyone. I've just got very comfortable here in this termite mound. I could actually probably sleep here, but I won't. I think that would be really boring for you to watch me sleep. We've had a lot of tech problems today, but we're still here, and I find myself in the middle of this termite mound. Now, it's an old termite mound. It's not active, okay? And what is interesting about this, I'm also stuck, so I can't go anywhere, but it's broken. It's been damaged. I think it's quite obvious who the culprit is, but let's take a look at this clue first. This is a very, very obvious clue. A pushed over tree. Or trees. I wonder who could do that. Okay, that's broken. And the mound is broken. So our mound, this used to be a completely closed mound. It's now broken, and I can fit inside. And there's also, Davi's going to highlight a track. Now, I think it's fairly obvious who's done this, and of course it's been an elephant. That's how strong and powerful they are. Now, they've probably pushed over the tree, which they're notorious for, and then they probably came here for a belly scratch, or a genital scratch, which is what they do. They don't have hands, they don't have fingers. So Davi and I came here hoping that we could really see inside this mound, but sadly, it's not that deep. I mean, it's deep enough for me to fit in. But Davi, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get this, but I'm going to point to something here, just above my finger, and let me know if you can see. You can see it? So inside the sort of mud is eggs. You see that? So they've been positioned, or they've been placed, right inside the cracks of this mound. Now, I don't know. It's obviously an insect, but I don't know if these would have laid these eggs. Isn't that incredible? So you have the termite mound here. It's crawling. It's actually, I I wonder where all these insects are crawling to. There's ants, there's spiders. So when you see the mound, it's not just functioning as a city or a unit for the termites. It's a home for everything else. Insects can lay their eggs here. Insects can burrow inside. Elephants can use it as a scratcher, just like we have those, you know, those back scratchers. That's exactly what the elephant's doing, but for its tummy. So unfortunately, we don't have a handheld camera. We don't have the bushwalks. We can't show you inside. We thought we were going to get to be able to see right inside to all the tunnels, all the chimneys, all the intricate work that the termites do sort of make when they're creating their mound. But sadly not. But it's a lovely place to sit if you do fancy a snooze. This is the one. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to get out of here. Shall we try? We think we can hear elephants. Way off in the distance, don't worry. I wouldn't be sitting here if there was elephants. Okay, I managed to get out, everyone. There we go. So, as I have a search around for these elephants that we can hear, we're going to send you to Steve on the dam cam.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Final Control Djuma, where I have myself, Steve Falconbridge, on the dam cam shift. This morning, I was not able to get my vehicle started. I am not a mechanic, and we are standing by for our mechanic to arrive so as to be able to assist in the starting of the vehicle. It seems to be fuel-related or spark plug-ish related. Don't worry, there was definitely fuel in the car. The immobilizer was not on. So who knows what happened between last night and this morning. These things do happen. But our mechanic, Opa, is a genius, and he'll fix it in about 2 minutes. So the dam cam, you can probably see a little bit of moisture falling on the ground or on the water. It is raining again here in Djuma. And I've been watching the show from the comfort of Final Control here in Djuma, and catching up with what Kyle was talking about earlier with the wild sesame, the sesame trifolium, and he said he was racking his brain to try and get some more scientific, or should I say medicinal properties for it. And it is indeed, as he said, a aphrodisiac, but that is when the leaves are cooked, lightly cooked with milk. You know, if you ever cook milk, you never want to burn it. Burnt milk is not nice, so you just cook it with milk. It makes a very nice thick yogurt, very similar to the large devil thorn, and then that drunk is a very useful aphrodisiac, so I've been told. The roots, though, as well, have been used and burnt. You burn the roots and then you dry them and mix it with a bit of Vaseline or cream, and has been known to be applied to a snake bite wound. But by all means, everybody, if you do ever get bitten by a snake, hopefully you've gotten some of these roots burnt and ready at hand, which most likely you will not have. So you're better off just going to hospital and making sure everything is done the right way. Obviously, a lot of these traditional medicinal uses were done a very long time ago. Some of them are still practiced locally, but sometimes medical advice is best looked for. The leaves as well release a very nice mucilaginous substance called soapinin, and is very well used as a soap. So the wild sesame, quite a useful plant when it comes to looking after one's clothes and one's body after a snake bite. So always nice to detail the medicinal properties of plants out there. And we're going to see what else we can find on the dam cam that is not a hippo. But Kyle has been loving his insects of late. I hope you got the updates there of those medicinal properties. Let's send you back over to him.
Alrighty, so the lovely large insect that we found on that camel thorn seed pod, I just took a very quick squiz through my field guide here. Obviously that was a new species for me. I hadn't seen that before, but that was a giant broad-headed bug. And if I turn the book over here, we can see very distinctive colours and as well as its elongated and very large size. And I've just read through a bit of the biology, and they actually do feed on various seed pods of the camel thorn, as well as sweet thorn, and then one or two other plants. But really, monster of a bug. And if we look at that body shape, in comparison to what we're looking at here, we're going to see they do somewhat resemble each other in terms of structure. You can see these long antennae. Let me just get a little pointer, hopefully. These long antennae, the structure of the body is also distinctive. You can see it's got almost like this shield. So this would be a part of a shield bug or stink bug family, but part of the true bug grouping, Hemiptera, and very distinctive. Like we were looking at yesterday, they got that very specialized feeding appendage that's held underneath the head, the rostrum, and that is used to pierce plants or animals in order to find nourishment. And there's actually quite a few over here. These over here, if you look at this over here, you can see the body structure is somewhat different in comparison to this one over here. These would be younger individuals on this branch. And if you look very close, if I take your attention, look how many there are. They are dotted everywhere on this branch. There are many, 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 many of them. So with this grouping, you'd normally find adults and as well as what we refer to as the nymphs together. They are a very nice looking bug, Lisa. And they are very important within the system. So this grouping, I think these specific species, these are all plant feeding insects, where they would be using that rostrum to pierce the plant and then find nourishment from there. There's a few different species within the region, so we could get to a species, but there would be related species within that group, making it fairly tricky to specifically ID this individual. But nonetheless, still very nice to see. Aha! I think I've answered our question.
We found them. A lovely, relaxed herd of elephants on quarantine. Oh, wait, is that one? Look at the trunk, yeah. It's got a short trunk. It doesn't look like a full adult female here, though, so I don't know if this is the short trunk. Oh. So when the tip of an elephant's trunk is missing, could possibly be from a snare, which is very sad to think about. That's the most likely reason, to be honest. It will still breathe. So it's got those sort of nostrils. It's actually got 7 olfactory turbinals. So it'll still be able to breathe. It'll still be able to pull up water. You'll maybe get a view of it as she... Possibly not. What's missing is the prehensile tips. Now, with African elephants, they have 2 prehensile tips, and that'll be one at the top and one at the bottom, so it allows them to grasp. Prehensile means to grasp. Now, with Asian elephants, they only have 1 prehensile tip, so it depends on the species, but for African, they have 2, and it really assists them in all the functions that they use their trunk for. So for that individual that's just walked past, she'll still be able to breathe, she'll still be able to pull up water like a straw, but grasping will become much more difficult. There's a lot of muscles there. She'll still be able to utilize the trunk, but that's the function that she'll be lacking in the most. So it may affect the way that she feeds, either substantially or marginally. We'd have to watch her. But that's the part of the trunk that's missing. Now, there's a few little bee-eaters flying around here. Davy, there you go. 9 o'clock on the branch on that fallen over tree.
Right here.
Yep, you got it. Has it just flown off again? I think it's just flown off again. There's 2 of them. Ah, there you go. Yay, little bee-eater. The elephants are probably going to scare it away, to be honest. Oh. Yep. Oh, it comes back. We got really lucky with the Carmine bee-eaters. That was on my bucket list anyway, and I managed to tick them off, but you get a lot of the little bee-eaters around here. One of the smaller species. Oh, a little elephant's coming along to investigate. This is so lovely. I love it when we have elephants on quarantine. Such an open area. I mean, the grass is long, but it's so open that you can really sort of get close to them, but be far enough away, if that makes sense, and still watch them. They're normally very relaxed in open clearings as well. We put our rain roof on. It drizzled slightly, but only very marginally, thank goodness. I don't want to get wet today. Okay, we're going to try and sit with these elephants as long as we can.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced, and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice for myself then.
All right, look at the density of those insects there. So, true bugs, you get these insects being fairly these insects resembling each other fairly closely. And what I'm really trying to look at is the structure of the body. And you'll find that you would have assassin bugs, which have a very distinctive pointy tip on the thorax, as where cotton bugs don't. And I'm thinking that this is part of the assassin group, but nevertheless it is part of the true bug family. And it's typical within a few of them to see adults and as well as juveniles just like this, or larvae just like this on one clump. But there's so many there. It is unbelievable. And they would be utilizing these camel thorn pods for nourishment, using that recurved beak, the rostrum, to pierce the plant itself. And then on closer investigation, I was busy looking over here. What initially got our attention when we were looking at the ant is those tiny little eggs. And I think we have got the culprit. So Morgan's going to give us a nice close view over here. I'm just going to put my pen here so that you can see. So there's an individual sitting on the right-hand side of the... Goes the spider? Right-hand side of the thorn. And then around it, you can see all those tiny little globule objects. Those are eggs right there. And so that, I think, is the culprit responsible for the eggs that we initially saw on that thorn on the canopy of this tree. So looking at this group, it's very diverse. And I think by far one of the most memorable, most memorable sightings I think I've had on my own, actually, is identifying one of these species, the millipede assassin. So if you think about these individuals, they feed on trees like this over here, but hence the name assassin, millipede assassin, That a bug solely predates on millipedes and nothing else. So think about just removing millipedes to remove a bug, and then in fact you can affect a whole lot more. But remarkable to think about how closely linked certain groups of insects are and how heavily they rely on each other to ensure that the whole system is working. So using that rostrum, that millipede assassin would have been pushing that beak-like appendage in between the legs and actually injecting a paralyzing enzyme into the insect. And then eventually the insect kind of relaxing, and then that beak would also be used to then draw out fluid from that prey item. But lovely to have the realization when things come together like it. I just love that. And it only comes from sitting and observing, and obviously having the time is the most important thing. And that's the beautiful thing about Tshwalu, is that you can drive around and everything works around game drive. So being out here is the most important thing for guides, trackers, and as well as guests.
The elephants seem a little bit on edge. A few of them are running, but we've managed to stay with, well, this small part of the herd. And going back to the trunk, if you think of it, it's basically the nose that's merged with the upper lip. So imagine that, your own nose merging with your upper lip and forming a really, really sensitive organ. One with great flexibility. And I guess it can function as a straw, a nose, an arm. Yeah, many things, and a snorkel. So in order for it to function, the trunks don't have any bones. It's complete muscular structure. And in order to use it in the way that elephants do, there needs to be a lot of muscles. And they actually say that there's over 40,000 muscles in an elephant's trunk. That's incredible, considering in the entire human body, there's 639 muscles. And look what our bodies can do. I mean, our bodies are actually remarkable at what they can do fitness-wise. and think of what an elephant's trunk can do with over 40,000 muscles. It blows my mind every time I think of it. Or you can sort of divide that into 150,000 individual units of muscles. But that's when you break the muscles down. So generally we say over 40,000 muscles in an elephant's trunk. Where are you guys going? They're moving fast. I think we're actually going to lose them very shortly. They're all running. Let's see if I can just turn around here. Audrey, there's no specific number of how many elephants live in a herd, but they will have a maximum carrying capacity. So of course it's matriarchal, it's led by the matriarch, and it's her responsibility to ensure the health, the safety, the wellness, the sort of reproductive success of all the females in the herd. Let me just see if we can work with this. It's not going to be the best angle, but we can't off-road. And therefore, if there's too many elephants, too many mouths to feed, too many bodies to guarantee safety and protect, too many individuals to lead from sort of areas of water and grass. So therefore, there's a maximum carrying capacity within each herd. So I think on average, around 20 is the perfect number for an elephant herd. But there definitely are herds that reach 30 and above. It really depends on a number of factors. The experience of the matriarch, the reproductive success, the environment where those elephants reside, that will also affect. So if the herds get too big, they split. And they split into what we call kinship groups. So they're still related, but then a new matriarch will emerge. A new matriarch, probably the next oldest, will then sort of emerge, become the matriarch for the separate group. And it's actually said that the two kinship groups, because they are related, they will stay in contact with one another. So you will regularly see them meeting, and you will regularly see them interacting. But they do become separate groups. And of course, over a course of time, through generations, those two kinship groups will become completely separate. But if elephants have relationships with one another, they do enjoy spending time with one another. It's just as to travel as a huge, huge group is dangerous. And it's not sustainable. And therefore they will split. So sometimes you find very, very small herds of just 5. And sometimes you find very large herds of 20, 25. Danica, you're asking about communication. It's a very, very complicated question. Elephants can communicate in so many different ways. They can communicate visually through body language, posturing, and sort of with their ears and their tail and their trunk. That's all a form of communication that's very visual. They can also communicate vocally through sort of loud trumpeting or even screeching and screaming. But they can also communicate through seismic communication. They can detect vibrations using very specialized mechanoreceptor cells that they have in the tips of their trunk and under the soles of their feet that detect vibrations. Now, it's not all sounds that can be heard by the human ear. Some of it are completely inaudible to us, and they will be communicating to one another in sounds of such a low frequency that we can't hear. We can't hear at all. Now, they do see, definitely, but their vision is said to be slightly short-sighted. So vision is not their primary sense that they do rely on. There's so many different ways that elephants communicate. And they call these sounds that we can't hear infrasounds. So they're possibly all talking right now, having a jolly good conversation, and we have no idea. Not only that, it travels great distances. So that's why herds, if they do split, I'm not talking about kinship groups, I'm just talking about a herd splitting, they can communicate kilometres and kilometres apart. So they know where one another are, or what's the plans. We're heading to Treehouse Dam for a drink, I'll see you there. Many different ways of communicating, and also through scent, chemical communication, in the form of, if there's a female in estrus, she'll be leaving her scent behind to show the males, where are you? I'm in estrus. And vice versa, the males do the exact same, and this is all done through urine. It will contain that sort of chemical message that says, I'm receptive, I'm in estrus, and I'm ready to mate. Are heading very rapidly into the drainage, apart from this female here. Okay, we'll try and stay with these elephants if they don't disappear, but for now, we're going to send you across to Steve.
Welcome back to the confines of the Dam Cam Final Control, everybody, where it is very quiet on the Dam Cam this morning. We've had an Egyptian goose ×2 and a couple of hippos, and if you do hear this clicking sound, that is because I am operating the Dam Cam with not a joystick but a mouse, so I do apologize for any noises that you might be hearing. I do think that my movement has become a lot better than last time I was on the Dam Cam. Then you can be the judge. You can see how serene it is. The rain seems to have stopped, and the hippos are hiding behind the only bit of vegetation that could conceal them. So it's a wonderful, wonderful sight, seeing the water and the greenery of Djuma at the moment. KG, I suppose the animal I like learning the most about is myself. I am on a journey for self-improvement and self-betterment, so I am learning about myself daily. But I'm sure that's not what you wanted to hear. Sure, you know so much about many of the animals around. I mean, I've learned a lot about many of them. I suppose spending time with cats, there's always something new to learn, because not everything has been written down in the books. But most of what we see, with especially our leopards, is something I'd really like to put together in some form of like a non-scientific publication. Get the guides to get their stories together about what have they seen the leopards doing. That's certainly something I'm going to be pursuing, and I'm sure I will learn a lot from the stories that the guides put forward. So the rain is still tiny bits of droplets falling there. And our hippos being very shy this morning. They must know when the Dam Cam is focusing on them. They must. They must know. Oh, it was Asana's birthday just the other day, everybody, if you recall. And Asana used to love this little pan system over here. He used to spend our winter months sort of sitting around this pan here and hiding right here in these bushes. Right over there, he would hide and terrorize the impalas as they came down to drink. So I'm hoping by scanning around and keep looking that maybe some form of a spotted cat might pop out. It seems to be very quiet though on the Dam Cam, not even an impala to be seen. Very good. Well, Tuala Kalahari is definitely having a lot more activity this morning. Let's send you back over to Kyle.
Well, unfortunately, the activity has come at a cost. Been hanging around here with the bugs, And because it's gotten warm fairly quickly, those meerkats have moved off for the day. So I promise you we will be visiting them tomorrow morning. But there's a lot of other stuff to keep us entertained out here. We looked at this, I think it was yesterday, this very unique looking fruiting body. This is the fruiting body made by the Gemsbok cucumber. A very extensive creeper. And like I mentioned yesterday, very extensive rootstock as well, up to about 1.5 meters deep. It does have somewhat of a bitter taste to it, but that doesn't stop things like porcupine. I've read along the lines of steenbok, gemsbok, eland will actually dig up this bitter rootstock, but obviously the water within the rootstock is life-saving. And animals will tap into this available water source. So while we have this one has been damaged. I saw it in the road. And I thought, what a perfect opportunity to show you guys a little bit closer on this lovely structure. I mean, it really looks like something out of a scientific movie that would be in a little nest and, you know, the mom would be ferocious and not from this planet. It literally looks like an alien egg. You could put this in Jurassic Park and, you know, it would fit in perfectly. Yeah, so very, very beautiful. And if you look at the color, the one that we were looking at yesterday was fairly green. So that would be unripe. And if you would want to check it, obviously, like I've mentioned before, be very careful when checking plants. If you want to check plants, if they're poisonous, you need to follow a certain procedure to ensure your safety. So something like this, if it's green and unripe, it would give one a burning sensation around the mouth. So what I'm going to do is to show you how efficient this plant is at dispersal and making seeds. I'm just going to give it a little cut over here quickly. Obviously making sure you're always cutting down. You never ever cut upright. You always cut straight down to ensure your safety as well. And you want to use a structure like this over here just to thrust downwards when you are busy with things like this. So like I said, it does have a nice cucumber smell to it, but then look at the fleshy content inside there, and as well as the seeds. You can see the fly wanting to sit on there to extract a bit of moisture, but the amount of seeds is phenomenal, and this is the hopes of this fruiting body or vessel. You want somebody to consume this, and in the mix of things consume some of the seeds. You can see how many seeds there are, that you definitely will have a few seeds that are taken up. And then once going through the digestive tract, they are dispersed. And when they are dispersed along the felt, that is obviously the successful dispersal phase of this wonderful plant. But the moisture is the main attractive note. And if I just do this here very quickly, watch the water and the moisture that comes out. Jackie, it looks like a melon on the inside. Yeah, it does look like a melon on the inside. It's part of the pumpkin family. Common name, pumpkin family. But it has a very, almost like watery cucumber scented. And if I taste it, it's got a slightly bitter taste to this one. No burning sensation. Obviously, you want to test on the top of your lip, or you want to do the inside of your arm to check if something's poisonous first and foremost. But I mean, look at the nourishment content with inside this. And this will all be consumed by an animal. Look at that. That is obviously the casing that will hold all of this wonderful content. And I mean, the moisture with inside here is unbelievable. Just look at my hand. Look how wet my hand is. You can see the sun just glimmering off the moisture. And really remarkable. And look how many seeds there are. I mean, there are hundreds, well, not hundreds, but there are a lot of seeds inside this plant. And those are brand new little Gemsbok cucumbers to start and continue this wonderful process. So baboons will eat this, a host of antelope species will consume this, and really remarkable source of water through the dry and leaner times. When we do come across another remarkable fruiting body, referred to as the tsama melon, that is just a fantastic plant within this area. And this one, the Gemsbok cucumber, you won't be able to store this for very long for its life-giving water. Jenny, it is fairly easy to remove from the casing. I mean, look how easily it splits out parts and see those membranous, those filaments separating from the casing quite easy. I just put my finger around it and it just literally comes out. So we can make a fire, we can put this on the ashes just like this. It can be semi-roasted. It can be consumed raw as well, obviously for the content. But very remarkable. So when we do find the timer melon has a body that resembles that of a small gem squash or a small gem squash. But that plant is remarkable at storing water, and we could keep a timer melon in this vehicle for nearly over a year, and it would still be viable to eat after that period. So it would have been a very important source of moisture for people moving through the midst of southern Africa through a certain period, and then obviously animals would relish on things like this, and as well as the timer melon, for life-giving water. I think back in the day, you would also have the San people bearing timer melons for its water content. All right, but let's send you over to Lauren with some more insect activity.
Lots of activity. Oh! Wow, did you all just see that? I don't think I've ever seen a net-winged beetle, I'm guessing, defecate. It was very liquid in form, but generally speaking, insects' defecation is in liquid form. And there's two here. I imagine the male is clinging on to dear life to the female. And this is to avoid any other males coming. Comes back down to sperm competition. Now, insects come in all shapes and sizes. With beetles, which is a very large group of insects, they have a really unique, specialized adaptation, and that's the forewings. The forewings that sit on top, unfortunately, we're not getting the best view here because they are in the middle of mating, I believe. Oh, here's another one. I can't actually see if this is a net-winged or the slender net-winged. You need to sort of look at their wing shape to see what species it is, but it's one of them. And the wings are called elytras because they're hardened. So when you look at a beetle, even a dung beetle or a rhino beetle or any beetle species, you'll see that those top wings are hardened and they act as protection. They're also super hydrophobic, and what that means is no water whatsoever will get in. And as I always mention, an insect's greatest fear is dehydration. That's why most insects are covered in a waxy substance on their legs, their head, their thorax, their abdomen, their wings, to prevent the loss of water. They don't want to dehydrate. So the elytra is quite an ingenious structure, and it does limit their flying ability. These hardened wings, not only will they be heavier, but they're not as flexible. But it helps protect the insects in all sort of way, shapes and form. And believe it or not, the world's smallest insect, or tiniest insect, they are known as the fairy wasps. How sweet. Thank you, Franklin. And they actually live out their entire existence inside the eggs of others. Sorry, Gwen, can you repeat that? I think it's a slender, actually. Megan, you're saying it's a neat little critter. Yes, I love these beetles. You see that we're actually getting a perfect view of the elytra wings. You see that? The hardened ones that are orange and black at the bottom, aposematic coloration. And then on the inner part, you can see the softer wings. And this is a key characteristic of beetles. So the fairy wasps, they actually live their entire larval existence inside the eggs of other insects. So that just gives you an indication of how tiny they really are. That's the rain started. You can hear it on the rain roof. It doesn't appear too heavy though. And there's actually one fairy wasp called the Kiki-ki-huna wasp. And it comes in at 0.16 millimeters. That's how small they are. And the name actually comes from the Polynesian language spoken in Hawaii. And it translates to tiny little dot. Kiki-ki-huna. But on the other end of the spectrum, one of the larger insects is the Goliath beetle. That comes under the beetle family, of course. And Goliath, well, that already tells you that it's huge. And I think it wins the competition for being the heaviest, maybe not the largest, the heaviest in body weight. And it's only found in Africa, and it can weigh up to 100 grams. So can you imagine this little neck-winged beetle next to a Goliath beetle? Wow. They say that blackbirds also weigh 100 grams, so that just gives you an indication of how large these beetles really are. And the name Goliath comes from, well, it's a biblical reference, David and Goliath. And it's absolutely huge. I think the Chinese stick insect wins the award for the longest insect. I think it comes in at 62 centimeters. Wow. It's like 2 rulers put together. That's probably longer than my forearm. That's huge. And that's the Chinese stick insect. So that's the rain definitely coming on. We're probably going to put our covers on and hopefully stay dry.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our Wild Earth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. Wild Earth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu, Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Well, you are back on board here with myself and Morgan. We are just cruising very slowly towards a pan. The roads look fairly quiet after last night. We thought we would just allow you folks to enjoy driving along with us. Beautiful vegetation as we come close to this watering hole. And the landscape in the distance over there. The heat of the day is starting to set in. There's still the coolness of last night lingering about, but that'll soon be lost with the strength and the power of that sun, and it starts to rise higher and higher. Sorry, little dove. Excuse me. Lovely little Namakwa dove. Oh, let me just move a little back. There he is. Oh, he's walking away from us. Is he looking for seeds? Predominantly what a Namakwa dove would feed on is seeds. And I think when we come back with you, Vex, we'll try and see if we can see its tracks. Very distinctive walking pattern, and as well as track itself. Doves normally walk in a pattern to which they look almost intoxicated. They walk in a very squiggly, ununiform manner. And this is a male moving across the screen there now. And the amount of seeds that are around at the moment would be perfect for seed-eating birds. So from the grasses and little forbs that will be seeding, this is a very important food source for birds such as this. It would be, you rely on almost an exclusive diet of tiny seeds. Corn cricket crossing the road. Okay, now that the dove has cleared the scene, let us move on. It does have tiny little legs, and that tiny leg structure will give you a very close foot position within the sand. So the bird would not be able to take very long strides, so the distance between those 2 feet would be fairly close as this bird walks on, looking for these tiny little seeds. And it's actually using the sun that the seed will be illuminated from this beautiful sun, and now it'll be following a certain direction, looking for that viable food source. There's another beautiful spider web. See it there, Morgan? Let me just jump off here quickly and take a look, see if we can see this one. The sun is at a very sharp angle. You got it. Right here. Tiny, tiny, tiny little individual. And that is minute. And it's got quite a long bridge line for such a small arachnid. Trevor, so Tswalu will stay green. So around March, the colours are really starting to change. And you'd find that a lot of the ground cover is really starting to change colour. So March, you start having the onset of this full colour change. And then in the midst of winter, that's when the colors are totally different out here. That's when you would typically see the true Kalahari colors, where you have this beautiful uniform brown, and then with trees, some trees still remaining green. But yeah, so we are obviously going through Feb now. So midst of March, we'll start losing a bit of this beautiful, vibrant green tinge and start stepping into the winter coat for Tswalu. And what a beautiful transformation, and something to witness as well. Really, really lovely. That's a very, very tiny little spider. Sure. Lovely to see something so small. I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest with you. A small arachnid. In terms of species or family group, I would be taking a shot in the dark. Literally. Oopsie. Oops. Sorry. That was actually my fault there. Sorry about that little spider. My pants got caught on the end of the bark branch over here, and it actually pulled the little shrub down. Alrighty. Let us maybe push on over here. Let's see what we can go find at this lovely pan. Sorry about that. Victoria, spider web design is fascinating and really remarkable. I can spend hours just looking at the colors seen within spider webs. Very important function that we are seeing here now. This is a little bit of maintenance that's going on. Obviously, after those heavy rains that we received, this is a very important job that needs to take place to ensure that those roads are safe for people to drive on. So a bit of maintenance going on in the background while we move on this road over here to the pan. So we're coming up to the pan here just on our right hand side. We're going to cross a beautiful sociable Evanes, and one that's got a very upright position, structure. And the shapes, a variety of shapes that one could find. The structure is varied across the board. This is one of my favorite nests to look at, and one where I found a lot of snake activity. I found countless cobras in this lovely large structure. What is that? Oh, was it a hornbill? Looked like African grey. And that is a very impressive nest there. Morgan, top left-hand corner, the next camel thorn in the road, just go to the top left-hand corner, you're going to see a bird there. That's it, punch in. In, go for it, lovely. In a bit more, and then go up a bit more, there we go, that's it. There we go, lovely African grey hornbill. I saw its tail as we stopped, and then its flight and smaller wing length. I was sure that was African grey. Beautiful bird to see. It has to be one of my favourite hornbills. Oh, just ate a big ground katydid. There goes its partner. Lovely bird to see. It's just a very, very uniform colour scheme. Not too much colour on the bird, but very beautiful in its own respect, or its own right. Distinctive bill for this family group. very important tool as well when it comes to the male passing food to the female when she is incarcerated within inside the nest.
Really incredible, those sociable weaver nests, everybody. I spent a bit of time up in Namibia where I saw one of them, and they are incredible. And it's often a very, very popular question in the FAGASA Level 1 exams. And those of you out there looking to write your FAGASA Level 1 exams, what is the largest nest built by a group of birds in southern Africa? And it is the sociable weaver nest. And then they word the question slightly differently. What is the largest nest built by a pair of birds? And you've all seen that as well in the form of the hamakop. And we've also seen these fellows here, Egyptian geese, nesting on top of hamakop nests. I've also seen giant eagle owls nesting on the top of hamakop nests. So hamakop's very industrious in their building. And obviously if someone makes a very nice property and you are big enough to steal it from him, well, that is life, isn't it? That is life. Rains seem to have abated for now, but there seems to be coming and going, everybody. Coming and going. Ludi, you can't really say size is what determines a spider's venomosity or dangerousness, the level of danger. There are 6 spiders of medical importance in South Africa, and they're all of different sizes. The baboon spider is regarded as medically important due to the fact that it can bite you and it's painful, but it's not really medically important. But then a violin spider is a very dainty, smallish spider that is quite small, dainty, but then it's equivalent to a couple of the other spiders, the black widow or the brown and the brown and the black button spiders. So it really is difficult to say, but what you should always pay attention to is coloration. When it comes to colors, does the animal have contrast? Yes, flap your wings. Have contrasting blacks with reds or yellows or oranges on the body. That often can mean an animal is dangerous in some form of way, either poisonous or venomous. So you can't really go around the world and say that the smallest are the most dangerous. But all spiders are venomous because they need to. Well, the large mygalomorphs don't necessarily use venom, but they all have venom in the form of needing to break down their food. Spiders don't have teeth, so the digestion often takes place before the organism even enters the body. They liquefy it with some of the venom, and in it goes. But it's not really, I don't think it helps to run around the world being afraid of spiders, because there are spiders everywhere. Spiders are the first organisms to move into an area. They are what we call pioneers. You clean your house, everybody, and what is the first thing to materialize in the corner? First thing after you've cleaned the house, it's always a spider web, because they are very, very good at moving in. They're also very good at catching mosquitoes and catching those little organisms that give us a bit of frustration from time to time. So I remember doing a lecture for Eco Training years ago about spiders and about the dangerous spiders, and people were thinking, oh no, how dangerous are these? And we'd been sitting in that lecture hall for about 2 weeks by that stage. And then I said, okay, so is anybody still afraid of spiders? Has anybody been bitten by a spider? And they said, no. I said, okay, stand up. Everybody stood up, and I said, turn over your chair that you're sitting on. And everybody turned over the chair, and everybody found at least 2 or 3 brown button spiders or black button spider underneath the chair they've been sitting on for 2 weeks. So these things aren't out to get us, everybody. They aren't necessarily out to attack you. So having a fear of spiders, I'm not saying it's unjustifiable, but I'm just saying that we can't run around being afraid of these things. So I don't think size is always key, but generally the smaller spiders are definitely venomous due to the fact that they don't have the physicality of the larger spiders in the fact that the larger spiders are able to wrestle their prey physically, whereas the smaller spiders have to envenomate so as to immobilize their prey so the prey doesn't hurt them. Got an itchy face. Scratching it with a foot is always a good way to do it when you don't have hands, everybody. The feet sometimes serve a fantastic purpose. Okay, well, the rains in Djuma seems to have stopped. Let's go see if Lauren has managed to stay dry.
Oh, I am dry. Do not worry. We have our rain roof on and our covers on. I am dry. It wasn't too heavy. Thank goodness. Aha, I see a butterfly. Hold on, Davi, hold on. This grass is actually taller than our car. Now I can't see it. Do you see a butterfly? No. No. Was that a Scottish accent there, Davi? No. Okay, hold on. Sometimes when you drive past, you disturb the animal, of course not intentionally, and sometimes they'll start fluttering again, so bear with us.
Just a bug.
That's a lot of lovely grass there, Davi. It's insect paradise right now, but they're not so easy to spot. Sadly, we may have lost our butterfly. Lee, you're asking, would an elephant
Cut the grass.
cut the grass? No, I don't think so. The elephants do not mow the lawn. Of course, they do pull up the grass right from the root to eat it. But it's only specific grass species that they do tend to enjoy more. And they really, really pull it using that prehensile tip on the end of their trunk that we were referring to earlier. But as for cut the grass, sadly not. I mean, I'm going to just jump out and really show you what we're facing here. Don't worry. You got it?
Well, it's a bug. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what that is either. I'm coming round. I'm going to show you how tall the grass is, and then we'll try and identify what bug Darby has found here. Okay, look at this. Now, I'm not the tallest of humans, in case you are wondering, but this is what it's like when I'm standing in the grass. I'm pretty sure this is taller than I am right now. This is the vegetation that we are dealing with. So from a safety perspective and from an animal spotting perspective, it's extremely difficult. That's why you've got to be super, super cautious. This is the thickest I have personally seen the bush in the time that I have been here. There could be anything lurking here. Okay, Davi, where was your bug? Okay. Now we use the word bug very loosely. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it. Aha, got it, got it. Okay, let's take a look at you. I also don't know what we're looking at here, but I see a lot of legs. I wonder if it's a spider that's curled up into a ball, deciding I don't want to be a spider today. I don't want to adult today. It's cold. It's rainy. I'm going to curl up into a ball. I think it's a spider. Okay, I'm going to jump back on the vehicle. So it's absolutely perfect to spot insects, especially if you drive so slowly. And You can see all sorts of wonderful movement. If you literally just drive like this, you can really spot insects. It's so wonderful, but it's not great for ticks. We've actually all received warnings out here, official warnings, to be very, very careful with the tick load because of the sort of thickness of the vegetation. Rivers are overflowing, dams are bursting. This is the wettest summer in a very, very long time, and it was necessary, but still, you've got to be very, very careful. And of course, it's making it really difficult for us to find animals. We love the challenge, but you just cannot see. The vegetation is that thick. And that's why they call it the green season after all. But there's no more running around quarantine like we used to. There's no more bushwalks. You've got to be very careful. Okay, so we are going to head back to quarantine. We're a bit limited in our areas today, but at least quarantine is an extremely productive area for us. We're very lucky to have quarantine right outside our camp. It's just a big open clearing. That's all it is. There has a lot of history there as well. And there's a lot of animal movement. I did check the hyena den earlier. I think I forgot to update you all on that, and it wasn't active. But I think the afternoons, the sunset safari, is far better for hyena den action. So hopefully this afternoon we'll be able to catch up with Ntima and gang. Okay, so I'm going to head back to quarantine, see what I can find, and for now, you guys are going to head back across to Steve.
Well, it is very dense out there, and indeed we have been given all sorts of warnings with regards to the ticks, but not necessarily just the ticks, with regards to a lot of the diseases that are potentially going to be flowing around in the animal populations coming up. There's been an announcement given to the Sabi Sands about arbovirus, notification for the summer and autumn of 2021. There are going to be huge amounts of population spikes of arthropods, as you've seen, and specifically disease vectors such as midges and mosquitoes. And the Mpumalanga State Vets are expecting a huge increase in incidences of arbovirus in the coming months. These are generally diseases such as Rift Valley fever, West Nile virus, Middleburg virus, Shuni, African horse sickness, etc. So we need to pay attention to the animals. The animals will be affected and will show signs and symptoms, and many of these viruses are quite sort of transferable to humans as well. So things that can happen with animals: sudden death, massive hemorrhages, abortions, so lots of animals aborting their babies, very nervous sort of signals or signs, off balance, paddling or paralysis, birth defects with regards to limbs and body function of certain babies, and then weak or dying lambs. So these are things that come up every now and again, and obviously because of the vectors, meaning the organisms that transfer the disease. So it's quite common, everybody. We go through periods of huge droughts and then periods of huge abundance, but with abundance often comes disease. Often you get disease in the dry times as well, but sometimes the disease actually comes through with the vectors themselves. So they're often in the population anyway, but you'll see huge populations of these vectors booming in the coming months. And that's also why it's important to pay attention to the behavior of the animals as we go forward. But many of the bird species that we have coming in, many of the birds flying in, are actually here to feed on many of the insect species that we've spoken about. It's why in our summer months we get so many migratory birds, because of the booming sort of insect populations. You don't see many birds flying off. There we go, that woodland kingfisher just took off. You don't see many birds migrating into South Africa from Europe and North Africa to feed on grass seeds. No, not specifically. They're here for the insects. Okay, there's plenty of fruits in the bush. I've been showing quite a few as you go through with regards to the marulas, the whiteberry bush. There's a few sour plums around, but we don't find too many of them. The raisins, there's lots of raisins. The marulas, the false marulas should be fruiting soon. I discussed it on the show the other day, the low-felt milkberry. It's got some very nice fruits. If I get my car sorted, which it's not happening at the moment because our mechanic is not available, so I might be sitting and doing a lovely Damn Cam segment again this afternoon. But once I get out and about, Kev, I'll be sure to do a drive just on the food that we can find. It's been something I've been thinking about doing and planning to do for those sort of quiet moments. And finding animals in the dense vegetation that we have right now is quite tricky. So I might as well find the food for you that is abundant and everywhere. Even the Egyptian goose that was feeding on the seeds of the grass there, that's something we can feed on as well. Cereals and grasses are the most productive plant in the world. Think about how many of you eat grain and maize and barley. Everybody in the world eats some form of cereal, and many birds do. And grasses are the most abundant food providing source in the world, not just from the seeds, but from the grass themselves. Think about any animal that you might know of. What do they feed on? For the most part, it is grass. And if it is not grass, they're fed from grain, which comes from the grass itself. So grasses are very important. So I will be detailing the depths of the grasses as well. So this Egyptian goose is walking along feeding as he goes, and let's go to Lauren, who I think has found us some more beautiful elephants.
I have found something very elegant indeed, known as the elegante grasshopper, perfectly positioned on our dashboard. For some reason, the insects, I don't know what it is about me, but I'm able to get very close to them, and including dragonflies, butterflies, and bring them here so we're able to have the most fantastic views of them. Now, this is the elegant grasshopper, of course, one of the larger species we get out here. And you can see that huge hind leg is completely out of proportion. It's almost awkward against a body, but it has really specialized muscles. It's not the leg itself, it's the muscles inside the leg that allow it to propel into the air to jump away from predators. Hence, well, they're called elegant grasshoppers, but I can assure you they're not elegant at flying. They're actually terrible flyers, especially the males. They can fly, but not far. They're not good at it. Their speciality, their unique speciality, is their hind legs. The power that they're able to generate that creates a great distance for them to travel. And almost like flying fish in a way, they don't really determine the direction that they're going to jump. It's an immediate response, fight or flight if you like, and they just jump out of the way of the predator. They have no control really to where they're going to end up, and this is a huge problem in the ocean as well with the likes of flying fish. So you'll be on these sort of local boats in the Maldives, and all of a sudden a flying fish will slap you in the face, and it's not pleasant because they have the power and they have the specialized appendages in the form of adapted fins to act like wings that propels them through the air, but they can't control where they're going to land, and very often it's in your face or in the boats, and you have to scramble and try and pick up a very slimy, rapidly moving fish to get it back into the ocean. And it's a similar thing with grasshoppers. They don't have much control over where they're going to land, but they just know, I gotta get out of here, I gotta jump. And they do it, and they do it so well. It's very difficult to catch a grasshopper, but somehow they're, well, I don't know why they let me get so close to them. Hello, sir. Are you aware how beautiful you are? You could possibly be a female. I do apologize if you are. But you see that coloration that gives them the name elegant grasshopper. It's beautiful to us, to a human eye, but to a predator, they're not going to see that as aesthetically pleasing. They're going to see that as warning. Oh, I don't think we should eat this guy. He looks fat, he looks juicy, but this coloration is off. This is telling us it's off. And what it's basically saying is, don't eat me. I'm not palatable. I contain toxins. You eat me, you're going to suffer. Lucy, you're saying it looks so fragile. Actually, they're quite robust, believe it or not. I'd quite like to put my hand up next to it so you can get a size indication, but I'm a little, this is going to go one of two ways. Shall we try? Yeah. Hello, little one.
Oh, there's another thing on the steering wheel.
Oh, wow. Look at that two-shot. This is the insect car. This is another... Is it a grasshopper or a mantis? I can't see from where I am right now. I've jumped off the car. But yes, they're actually very, very robust to grasshoppers. Big, big bodies, big fat bodies, and a really hard exoskeleton. So insects don't have a skeleton like us, an endoskeleton. Oh, bye. Is that our moment over? Okay. Their skeleton is on the outside. So that means there's not much structure on the inside like us. Everything is sort of sloshing around, shall we say. The blood, at least, the hemolymph, they don't have blood like ours. They don't have a network of veins and arteries and capillaries. The blood is just sloshing around there. And that's why when you accidentally kill a bug, I hope no one kills one intentionally, it's a yellow liquid that comes out. It's not red. The blood does not contain iron because the oxygen delivery method is entirely different. They don't have a system like ours. So they don't need to have that skeleton. It's on the outside. And it protects them. Are you going to drive us home? I'm more than happy if you do. It's dancing. Why not? When the weather is miserable and you've been rained on, why not dance? But can you see how awkward those hind legs look? It almost looks like it's doing a very bizarre yoga pose. I think I'm going to do this this dance all the way home, Davi. What do you think? But not all animals in the animal kingdom have red blood. Insects, blood is yellow. Octopus, squid, their blood is blue, royal blood. And it's blue because it doesn't contain iron. It has completely different properties. We just think that everybody's blood is red because ours is. I'm going to try and get this grasshopper off my car, and hopefully we can find some other insects for you.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice for myself then.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
I need to come and see what it is. We've just found another insect on this Waltheria indica. But I'm going to be very honest with you right now and say I don't quite know what it is. I'm not sure. It's very small, potentially a grasshopper, maybe a mantis. I think I'm going to get out the vehicle, Davy, and just go a little bit closer and see if I can identify what it is. Oh, I do miss bushwalks. Oh, there's lots of elegance here. This must be the place to be if you're an elegant grasshopper. Look at that one. I think it's a juvenile grasshopper from what I can see. It's very, very small. And I think it's contemplating pouncing away from us with its hind legs. I think that's what it is. Maybe it's still undergoing some molting, and that's why it doesn't look like the full adult form. It's tiny. Here's one elegant, 2, 3. Ah! My goodness, there's grasshoppers everywhere. And they make up a large sort of bulk of birds' diets, reptiles' diets, larger insect diets. A lot of the migratory birds really come here to feast on the endless supply of insects that are around here. There's no area untouched by an insect. They are everywhere. And I know not everyone possibly enjoys insects, but really when you start to get into them, they are the most incredible organisms. The way they've evolved, the way they've thrived, the way they have almost taken over the world, if you like. They have. There's insects in places you wouldn't believe. There's said to be more insects than there are grains of sand on all of the world's beaches put together. They're a food source for humans too. A lot of countries around the world, developing countries, eat insects, and that's because they're such a great source of protein. There's actually a company, the name has slipped my mind, I think it's in the States, that has been making insect ice cream. Davy's eyes just went a fraction larger there. Yes, they grow insects to turn it into ice cream as a food source for the developing world, and that's because they are very high in nutrition. Slightly crunchy, I would think, but a really, really good food source, and it's not just for the other organisms out here, but for humans as well. They're completely underestimated. And sometimes it's a little bit safer on quarantine to jump out of your vehicle and just to have a look around for insects because it's an open clearing. But obviously it's not recommended these days to get off your vehicle and go tracking and go into the thicket. But at least on quarantine it's an open area, you can see what's around. But it's perfect. It's a perfect place to just stop and look around for everything that's crawling on the ground. I didn't think I would fall in love with insects and spiders and arachnids as much as I have. Once you really, really start to learn about them, it will blow your mind. Now today, Turned out to be a fabulous drive. I just want to say thank you everyone for jumping on board, all your comments and questions. Hopefully the rain stays away and we shall see you this afternoon. Goodbye for now.